People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, I'm in the process of setting up my watch-along, people, for the Champions League. And as we all do, browsing the Arsenal news and rumours. And I thought to myself, do you know what? It makes sense to just make another video. So you can see on screen what's obviously in front of me. Let's get straight into it. Now, Bruno Guimaraes, he seems to be flavour of the month, or better yet, flavour of the week with Arsenal. Every minute there's articles coming out and things in relation to Bruno Guimaraes. Let me know your thoughts on him, people. For me, personally, as a footballer, love him. Can play as an 8, play as a 6, got that Brazilian passion that the Newcastle fans have fell in love with. We know we need a long-term midfield option, and I think he ticks that box, but it comes down to price. You know, rumours of 100 million, other rumours that business can be done for slightly less. Obviously, we know Newcastle probably need to make a big sell because of their own financial fair play kind of things. But apparently, Team News and Ticks, which is actually an ITK and all of those things, again, don't know if he does or does not know what he's talking about, no disrespect. But yeah, apparently he's, and to be honest with you, he has had a couple of things that we've spoken about and they've actually happened. So maybe he's 30, I don't know. But Arsenal won't be able to complete the Bruno Guimaraes deal in June due to FFP. However, Newcastle's owners would accept 80 million instead of the initial 100 million. Bruno is receptive to the idea of joining Arsenal. Now, that's nice that he's receptive to it. You know, there was rumors initially when he was in Lyon that we wanted him. Probably hindsight's a wonderful thing, people, but probably should have spent that 35 million quid in it, because it's, you know, doubled and in some cases beyond that, really. I think it comes down, well, no, I think we all know it comes down to the price. And again, I'm no financial expert, no accountant. I don't understand how the deals and all of that get done in their intricacies. But when you do look at the deals, you see, you know, you have to factor in the true cost. That's the agent fees. That's the percentage that obviously goes to the agent. That's the signing on bonus that he's probably going to get. That's his wages factored in for not just this season, seasons that he signs that contract. And obviously that has to obviously, you know, be balanced in the books. And there's all sorts of installments. Again, we all know, I mean, we'll be here all day really if we spoke about what money actually is and had a debate. But we all know, obviously there are some cases, release clauses are triggered, but we all know it's not Arsenal. Even if Arsenal, like this paragraph was right and Arsenal were just down for it and said 80 million, it's not just 80 million up front. There's different variables to hit, time payments and whatnot. Newcastle, I know that they're treading close with FFP, and that kind of makes the point I'm about to say redundant. But respectfully, it's not like Mike Ashley regime. Them and they've got money. They've got money. And again, if whether Bruno goes to Arsenal, Manchester City, PSG, and other teams, you know, other teams will be prepared to pay, and maybe more in favourable terms, like we saw with Chelsea's pursuit of Mikhail Mudryk. Hindsight was a wonderful thing. I personally think we'd love to get Bruno, but it comes down to finances. So naturally, whether it's Zubimendi, Douglas Luiz potentially, or any other midfield, Fofana, who a lot of us Arsenal fans like, any other midfielders that probably would be a bit cheaper. Then when you look at it, it needs to be done in June. So that would not be a deal that is going to be announced anytime soon. Obviously, Bruno would have to ask himself, while he signed a new deal, allegedly bought another house, probably one of the most favoured players in the Newcastle fan base, at some point, do you have to do your part to force a move? And obviously, somewhat sour relationship with Eddie Howe and the owners. I do think Bruno is the one out of him and Alexander Isak that they'd probably move on, if anything. Another player who's linked with us, you know, and he's got a price tag allegedly of 100 million quid, people. So we'll have to see how that goes. Now, congratulations to Ipswich Town and former Gooner Omari Hutchinson, because they've actually been promoted back to the Premier League. Just a few years ago, they were in League One, and they've got a good manager in Nketiah, who's obviously, before he's doing what he's doing, has a good record with youth talent. So in theory, it makes sense for young players to go to Ipswich. Whether youth alone can, you know, help you stay in the Premier League is another thing. Smith Rowe has actually been linked with Ipswich in the last couple of hours as well, people, but allegedly, courtesy of Team Talk, apparently Team Talk can exclusively reveal that one of Ipswich's ambitious targets is Arsenal striker Eddie Nketiah. We all know Arsenal are willing to sell the 24-year-old. Eddie's probably leaning towards a move. Rumours of another striker. Kai Havertz is preferred ahead of him. A fit Jesus and Trossard probably the same. One day we'd love to wake up with Martinelli able to play through the middle. And obviously a new target. Now, if I'm Eddie Nketiah and Ipswich Town want me, I'm going to be interested. As I just said, their manager's got a good record with developing talent. The main thing is game time. Minutes are currency. You're going to get that, and you're going to play a starring role in helping the team beat the drop. But then, it's, again, respectfully to Ipswich, and we back them all the way to stay up. thinking about it from a lifestyle point of view, you know, you're going to rock up there. You're probably going to be on favourable wages. Maybe you get what you get at Arsenal or elsewhere. I don't know, but you don't really have that stability. God forbid, and I hope these words don't come back to bite me, but Arsenal are not going to get relegated. You've just signed a 5-year deal. If you sign certain terms at Ipswich, you're going to be playing in the Championship, which obviously I'm not looking down on it. So there's a lot of factors to beyond that. And if you're Eddie Nketiah, do you sit there and say, you know what? I don't mind going Ipswich, but let me go there on a season-long loan, show I can get these goals, and maybe bigger clubs, respectfully to Ipswich, will come in for me. But who knows? I mean, Eddie Nketiah is one of the players that we know is going to be able, whether you like him or not, is going to be able to raise some decent funds for this football club. He's 24. He's been capped once by England. He is still young. You know, nobody knows his story. Eddie Nketiah, I'm not saying he will, but he could go and bang 20 league goals next season if he went in the Premier League team. And I think people, whatever they say about him, there's a couple things I admire about Eddie Nketiah. He has this ability to surprise people, from getting released to Chelsea to somehow being the number 14 now. And I do like his attitude. He comes across as very realistic about his situation, very resilient. He just comes across as someone that knows, I am not first choice. I'm not one of the best here, but I'm going to conduct myself a certain way. If there isn't an opportunity to take, I'm going to take it, which, you know, last season, there was times he was playing in the absence of Jesus. And in fact, his form, a bit like Havertz, not to this standard, but a bit like Havertz, you know, Jesus, you're not the first name on the team sheet, and to wear the number 14, come through the academy, obviously be part of the little Premier League title chasing thing, score a hat-trick. It's been a success story for Eddie Nketiah, but unless there's significant improvements, probably need to move on. Now, there is a reality if reports were gospel, despite what Arteta and Co have said, in that Gabriel Jesus might leave, a next striker comes in, and really nothing's really changed for Eddie in that regards. And again, you look at Eddie, Smith Rowe, Reece Nelson, Aaron Ramsdale, you hope Tierney, Lokonga, maybe Mika Bereth and young Charlie Patino. These are players that could raise funds for the club to somewhat offset the spending. So yeah, man, apparently Ipswich are looking at him. We've seen West Ham have been linked with him before. Crystal Palace have been name dropped there as well. So we'll have to watch that. I don't really believe this, but I would love João Neves from Benfica, the 19-year-old. He's been linked with us. Again, he's going to cost a lot of money, probably because he's got a £103 million release clause. Benfica, who've showed numerous times they can sell players for big money, probably won't be in a rush for him to leave. And even that, again, you can't undervalue game time. I do think in the present day, if you're a very talented 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old, all the way until 20, and you've played well for 30 minutes, obviously I'm exaggerating, you get bought for 50 odd million, which isn't a bad thing, but you don't really get time to develop. A lot of people forget, and I know it's redundant, Neymar, you know, Neymar didn't leave Brazil, forgive me, until he was, if I'm wrong, but until he was 23. That's never happening in this day and age. You look at Jude Bellingham, probably from the days he was 13, 14, every club in the world probably wanted to sign him, or definitely the English clubs. Respectfully, stayed at Birmingham, where I don't know Jude Bellingham from nowhere, but 100% he must have had some offers from the big boys in England. Did not go there, went Dortmund, took his time. Obviously, he's kind of skipped steps and ended up at Real Madrid, but you see what experience can do for you. I know Jadon Sancho's back at Dortmund after it didn't work out at Man United, but, you know, he could have stayed at City, maybe not played. He went to Dortmund and got game time, and there's plenty of other examples. Would love João to sign for the club. We know Guimaraes has been linked with us, as we've spoken about him. Douglas Luiz, you know, there was a point we was probably talking about him every day, Arsenal fans. And Zubimendi's been linked with us for like a year or probably even two now, really. Now, I covered this in an earlier video, not specifically this article, but Victor Roque, a player that a lot of clubs in Europe were allegedly looking at, is struggling for game time at Barcelona after joining in Jan. Like clockwork, he's been linked with Arsenal. He's a very talented, versatile young Brazilian player, and it's not happening for him at Barcelona, the Brazilian. The 19-year-old struggled. Apparently, Arsenal were one of the hosts of the leading clubs that were looking at the forward, and we could be handed another opportunity. I don't buy this, if I'm completely honest with you, but his agent did say, everyone thinks that Victor Roque has to have more minutes, and no one understands why the coach Xavi doesn't give them to him. Now, it's never sensible when your agent's talking like that. So maybe he could be moved, and Barcelona's financial situation would be crazy. I think he just needs a bit of time. And if I was him, you know, Rafinha's fortunes have somewhat changed at Barcelona, so you never know. Xavi has never spoken to the player. I do not understand this situation, and I think it's not good for either party. I've told the boy that what he has to do is work even harder and wait for an opportunity. But I've also seen in some matches to give him minutes and prominence, and thus avoiding this unpleasant situation. In my opinion, the team concedes a lot of goals, and that doesn't help. And I mean, he's right there. He has got to work hard. Obviously, you've joined in January. to be fair to Xavi, yes, you know, sometimes when you're in, we've seen it with Saka, Smith Rowe, and Martinelli, when your team's doing rubbish and nothing's happening, blood in youth talent and young talent can help to turn things around. But 9 times out of 10, it's easier to leave this young, impressionable 19-year-old trying to make a name for himself on the bench versus the bigger boys in the dressing room and the higher stature footballers at this moment in time, whether form dictates that or not. If we could sign him, I'd be up for it. Now, again, another thing I covered in the last live stream, it's come out in relation to Benjamin Sesko that he does have a release clause, which, you know, long story short, the more variables he hits, goals, appearances, it goes up essentially, people. So that's changed things. Apparently, you know, it's still 50 million. It could rise to 70, 75. And a lot of Premier League teams in AC Milan are linked with the 20-year-old who just joined Leipzig last summer. Arsenal allegedly have intensified their pursuit of Sesko after being put off a move for Alexander Isak due to Newcastle's lofty demands, according to Football Transfers. Very raw, a lot of question marks, but I do think he'd be a good option for us, especially if, you know, we assume Kai Havertz's form is going to just stay like this as a minimum and get better and he's going to play up front. It could be a plan B, and it could obviously give Arsenal more wiggle room, you know, to maneuver. Dean Jones has said Arteta willing to spend 55 million on a new striker ahead of next season. Well, if that is the case, and I'm not saying it is, and that probably rules out some fans who wanted Ivan Toney. We've been linked with Ollie Watkins again. You know, Gyökeres is probably out of the picture. We probably know we're not getting Isak, but Isak, and probably half the names we get linked to. It more puts you into the Seskos and maybe even Xerxes region, people. Ben Jacobs, for what it said, apologies, I said Ben Jacobs. I'm reading 2 different things. Dean Jones said, Benjamin Sesko's release clause is higher now than it was previously, but it still only stands at around 55 million for the likes of Arsenal and Chelsea. That would fit within the parameters, I cannot say, never say that word, apologies, of any striker deal they would look to do in the summer. So we'll have to see, people. Obviously, Openda's done quite well, and it'd be interesting to see if Leipzig hold on to them both. The last sentence has said the likelihood is one leaves and Sesko still seems affordable, even though he'll cost more than he did in the winter. We have seen reports that Partey and Jesus won't be forced out the door, but if offers are made, then things will be considered. Again, going back to that ITK again, who's made a Patreon page actually, and you know, if you don't want to support that and go on his platform, you can pay for his exclusive news. Sources in relation to Guimaraes say he'll be available for 80 million. Well, Nana's concerned, Sean Dyche doesn't like him, also wants out, so easy deal to do. And there's interest in João Neves. Now, while you can't accept that for gospel, make of that what you will. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts and everything. Let's keep it moving. According to reports, Arsenal put a price on Zinchenko ahead of interest from Newcastle and Bayern Munich. He's got 2 years left on his own contract, people. And for someone that's won a lot of Premier League titles, helped revolutionize Arsenal's system, and was one of the central pillars once upon a time to Mikel Arteta's system, to have 2 years on his deal probably tells you Arsenal may be undecided at this moment in relation to him. For what it's worth, though, as well, Fabrizio Romano did say in relation to Gyökeres, he's celebrating winning the title with Sporting in Portugal, but I'm told there's still interest from many top clubs, including Arsenal, in signing the prolific Swedish striker this summer. Arsenal have been scouting Sporting players multiple times this year, so Gyökeres is a player they appreciate alongside Isak at Newcastle. They also appreciate Sesko at Leipzig, so it's still early days and Arsenal exploring the striker market, but let's see what they're going to decide in terms of the budget. For his part, Gyökeres wants to keep all options open so he can be one to watch in the summer transfer window. Let's see what Arsenal decide to do. But personally, I'd go for a proper number 9, someone who can score guaranteed goals. I'm a big fan of Gyökeres and Sesko, but it's not easy to pay a big amount of money for top strikers, so Arsenal are facing an important decision. In any case, it's also worth noting they're super happy with Kai Havertz's performance up front and also his attitude. So let me know your thoughts. Has Kai Havertz's form even swayed you lot to maybe not invest in the striker? Thomas Partey's once again been linked with Galatasaray, people, over in Turkey. Gyökeres did speak earlier about his future, people, and more or less said anything can change. Check out the last video I did in relation to that, people, because I don't want to go over the same things. You know, Elise absolutely embarrassed Manchester United. I'd love him at Arsenal. Romano allegedly said Man United are interested in signing Elise. Arsenal and Newcastle are also in the race. He's been aggressively linked in the last few months to Man United, so I actually think that might be one to watch. Again, the ITKs are saying that we're aiming for either, I guess, one of Jarell Hato or Ajax, who signed a new deal, and you don't know I'm a big fan of him. Braithwaite at Everton's probably going to be too costly, but I think he'll have a good future. And the more I've done my research on Murillo of Nottingham Forest, I can see why he would be linked to Arsenal, but I can see why we would say, you know what, that's not that one really. Apparently, Hato is Arsenal's top target, people, allegedly, according to this individual. And that's something we will revisit next summer. Apparently, in relation to Murillo, apparently Mikel Arteta isn't really convinced on him, but it's an Edu suggestion. So we'll have to see, man. We can't accept none of this for gospel, folks. But there you have it. Oh, sorry, I've actually got the comments. So you know what? Because I'm a nice guy, smash the like button. If you have not seen these Gyökeres comments before, let me know your thoughts. I'll read them out again. Stay next season. It's football. It's normal. I can't promise anything. I really like being here, but in football, everything happens very fast and we have to adapt. I can't make so many predictions. It's difficult. There are still games this season. Then we'll see. So again, I can't expect him to say anything different, but it makes sense. Everton will accept a significant offer for Onana. I mean, isn't that the case? And as we discussed earlier today, people, Szczesny was probably at some point going to be linked with an Arsenal return. He's actually been linked with Chelsea as well. Apparently, he's to stay at Juventus this summer, people. Obviously, this is behind the paywall, so we can't look at that. But let me know your thoughts on everything we went over, people. Don't forget to smash the like button. And most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll link up again soon, man.
Always